What's the worst thing you've swallowed? Bit into what I thought was a super juicy blueberry, turned out to be a bead of soap from a poorly rinsed container. Sudden foam party in my mouth. A spider egg sac. It was in the spout of my water bottle. I felt something weird in my throat and found what remained of it in the spout. Have you ever heard of a spit cup? Yeah. What a terrible day to be literate. I want to stop but can't stop reading these comments. That drink they give you in the hospital when you have to get a colonoscopy. Not the one in bottles. This was the one dissolved in water. I couldn't drink it. I tried so hard. It was the worst tasting thing I've ever had. I earned myself an extra day in the hospital and another whole round of it. BC, I didn't drink enough of it the first day. I was convinced I was in hell. My father's kidney stone. Now I know this sounds fucked up. I was an idiot when I was 11. Probably had 3 brain cells fighting for air most of the time. I came home from school, no one was home, and I saw a package of Nerds candy on the table, and beside it was a paper towel with a unique black nerd. Curious about this black nerd, I decided to not think about it and instead just eat it. It was gritty and horrible. Didn't taste like much, and I chalked it up to being an error in the nerd factory. Fast forward an hour later, I'm playing games on the family computer when I hear my dad desperately ask, "Where is my kidney stone?" To which I reply in anguish, "I am crying. My parents are laughing hysterically, and my dad has to tell his doctor that his kid ate his kidney stone thinking it was candy. My nickname for years was Nerd. Not my proudest moment. I was eating him a mess and thought I had dropped a brown one on the ground. Nope. Tick full of dog blood. Was going to make buttercream frosting for a cake, and kept tasting it as I went to make sure the flavor was on point. Noticed something a bit off and a little gooey, and finally noticed that there were small moths in the fucking frosting. I guess they had gotten into the powdered sugar and I had been eating moths that whole time. So after puking in the sink and dumping that batch, I found a recipe that didn't require the powdered moth sugar, and that is how I discovered ermine frosting. Never looked back. Ate the leftover crumbs of a bag of chips. They were kind of chewy and weird tasting. My dad put his toenail clippings in there. So I have a wired phobia where I have to rise out every glass before I use it, even if it's at my own house, or a plastic cup. It stems from when I was in 5th grade and stayed over a friend's house. The mother was a hoarder, but this was before anyone knows that term, and I was certainly too young to know it. Her fridge was the typical overstocked war mess you see on TV. She made me a glass of Ovaltine for breakfast after a sleepover, and on top it had all the bits of crystally stuff you get crusts in the glasses from dishwashers that aren't cleaned regularly, plus a few random dog hairs. I didn't want to drink it, but she said I had to, so I did, and it was lukewarm, with bits floating on top. I've rinsed every single glass I touch since then, and even my good friends rinse one for me when I'm over. The gunk from a throat abscess that just burst. Kani miso. I saw it on the sushi train menu thinking it was miso, and crab kani miso is actually made from a crab's brains and internal organs. Tasted like rancid seafood with the texture of wet cement. I was with some Japanese teachers who were hosting us on a school trip, so I had to swallow out of politeness. I managed to somehow covertly squirrel the second piece from the plate into a napkin, which I carried down the street before disposing of it in a bin out of sight of the hosting teachers. Hopped open a bottle of MT, due to make a cocktail. Not only did I waste a hefty amount of vodka, I also inadvertently swallowed my friend's piss. Ended up spending the next 10 minutes gagging and lost my immunity to noxious smells afterward. When I was 6-7, I ate a bouillon cube, thinking it was a caramel. It was horrible. This is the worst effing thread. Bomb water. On my first date, I took my girlfriend to a fancy restaurant. I was trying hard to impress her. We shared an appetizer charcuterie. There was some kind of mustard-like substance that she didn't want to try. I actually like mustard, so I said I'll try it. To this day, I have never tasted anything more repulsive and texturally traumatizing. I gagged uncontrollably while she laughed her face off. We've been married for 6 years. 1130 mg Adderall in one day. I think I permanently damaged my heart. That or the cat turd I thought was an almond. Hog shit when power washing barns. Hot hog shit at that lol. I was drinking Coke in the dark and swallowed a rain spider that got in there.